Welcome to the Country Hipster Podcast. My name is Paul. I am the Country Hipster. The music you heard at the beginning of there was none other than the Unholy Four with the hit song Dirty Knife. Check it out on Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, and pretty much wherever you get you can find the Unholy Four. I know they have an Instagram. And I should probably find out more about like what they have as far as social media goes. But I do know there's Instagram. I know they're on Spotify, and I know they're on Bandcamp. And Adam pointed out about they're on Apple Music. Speaking of Adam, as you see to my left, Adam is not here. We have the lovely guest host, Mr. Snoop Dogg, back there. The only problem with Snoop Dogg is that he doesn't really say a whole lot. Right, Snoop? And that's exactly the response that I expected from Snoop Dogg right there. So just to give you guys a heads up, this is going to be another random record episode. So I do apologize. The last one got a little bit nerdy. This one is not going to be as nerdy. I promise you that. I mean, it might. Who knows? You know, I do turn into a vinyl nerd at times. So at any rate, Adam and I, we had some family stuff going on. We will get more into that with the next episode. I don't want to really address it right now without Adam here. But when he is here for next week's episode, that is when we will cover Bob Dylan, Blonde on Blonde, which is, if you are following the podcast in sequential order, that is what you were expecting today, but that will not be today. Unfortunately, it will be another day. But we are here, and we're going to do this, and it is still September, so this is still Oktoberfest. I'm not changing that. We're still going with the Oktoberfest. So I have my little German hat on. I have my anal vice. I believe that's what Kristen, our guest last week, called it, was an anal vice. And what I'm drinking today to start off with is Cape May Brewing Marzen Style Lager Oktoberfest. So Cape May Brewing is a local-ish brewery to the Ottsville Record Garage in the sense that it is located in Cape May, New Jersey, which is South Jersey. And if you ever go to South Jersey, you will know that North Wildwood is basically the northeast Philly of the Shore Points. Cape May is kind of like the Doylestown of Shore Points. That's how I describe it at any rate. And so Cape May Brewing is in Cape May, New Jersey, and it's a cool brewery. I've been there. What's kind of cool is like they have, I found this very cool when I went there this summer. They had this like counter that's hooked up to their Instagram. So if you don't follow them on Instagram, and you go in there and you like them or start to follow them on Instagram, their account will actually go up in the tasting room there, which I thought was pretty cool. It's just kind of a cool interactive thing that I thought was pretty neat. So I haven't even opened this yet. I am going to try the Cape May Brewing Company's Oktoberfest. They even have their little German hat on there with their anal vice. And I know I'm saying that wrong, and I'm saying it wrong on purpose, just to bother Kristen. All right, so here we go. Popping it open. It's got a nice live head there on it. So, that's nice, man. It's a really nice lager. Sometimes the Marzens, in my opinion, tend to be a little more malty, a little more, I guess, deeper in flavor than like a regular lager. This is a lighter Marzen. It's still very drinkable. It's still very good. I actually like it as a change up. Like if I were to drink, say a Sam Adams Oktoberfest, or even what we were drinking last week, one of the Founders Oktoberfest, and then switch to this, it would be a very delightful change. I've been using delightful a lot today. I made some polenta with dinner, which my son wouldn't eat. Jack, our producer and director and editor extraordinaire, would not eat the polenta I made, and I said, "You got to eat it. It's very delightful," and it was delightful. It was like a cheesy polenta, and it was very nice. It went well with our steak and green beans from our garden that Katie picked this afternoon. So that was really cool. But no, this is a delightful Oktoberfest here. It says rich, malty, and uber drinkable. Is a little slogan underneath there. I don't know if I agree with the malty. It's got a little bit of maltiness, but It's not overly malty, and that's fine. That's totally fine. So now I am going to take my hat off because it gets itchy, my Oktoberfest hat, and I'm going to put my other hat on because, even though you just saw how bald I am, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little self-conscious about my baldness. So there you go. So got some business to get to real quick before we get to anything. This weekend, I do have some shows coming up. On Saturday, 9/16, rain or shine, the Birmingham Six, the band that I play in, the Irish rock band that I play in, I sing and play guitar. And also our theme song at the end, when we're ending our podcast, Move On, is one of the Birmingham Six songs. We are performing at a Halfway to St. Patrick's Day Irish Festival in Mount Holly, New Jersey. It is part of Burlington County St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee. They do a parade every year in March, and then they do some events throughout the year, and they are hosting this event here on the corner of Washington and High Streets in Mount Holly, New Jersey. So a couple things about this. This is free. This is family friendly. They will have vendors there. There will be, I believe, some alcohol being sold, as well as possibly some food. But it is family friendly. You can bring your kids or whatever. And again, there is no cost of admission. So that's like, how many free things can you find to do with your family? Even if you go pumpkin picking this weekend, it might still be a little hot for that, but you're going to spend at least, $50 easily if you go to do that, because you're going to buy the fucking cider donuts and all that kind of shit. That's what I would do. More than the pumpkins, I would buy the cider donuts, the apple cider donuts. But at any rate, this is free on Saturday from 12 to 6. Besides the Birmingham Six, it has friends of ours, the Natterjacks, friends of ours, the Shanties. This ugly guy named Billy McGovern's going to perform, and John O'Callahan, who is formerly of Jameson Celtic Rock, who Frank Daly is currently in Jameson Celtic Rock, and he's a friend of the podcast. So we hope to see you there between 12 and 6 on Saturday at the corner of Washington and High Street in Mount Holly. And then on Sunday, weather permitting, and right now the weather is looking good, I will be at the Bucks County Brewery, which is only 10 minutes from the Ottsville Record Garage, where we film the Country Hipster podcast. And we'll be performing there from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. They have a lot of really great beers. And hopefully after this visit, I will be making a big announcement regarding the Ottsville Record Garage, Country Hipster podcast, and Bucks County Brewing. But you'll have to tune in to next week's episode to find that out. Actually, it might not be next week's episode. It might be the week after. Just looking at the schedule that we're going. So back to what I was saying, we are doing a random record review here today. So down here, I actually have the random records. I didn't lay them out again, as that just, that would have taken too much time. And I have my pitcher of Tom here, named after the official bartender of the Country Hipster podcast, Tom Bernhard, because I always say it wrong. So either way you want to do it, there it is. And it happens to be in a Warsteiner pitcher here, so that's also very Oktoberfest. That will always be the pitcher of Tom. It is also my tip jar when I go to play my solo shows as well. So we're going to do this like last time. I'm going to pick I have numbered 1 to 15 inside the pitcher here. And I'm going to pick those out, and then I have numbered down here 1 to 15 of LPs here that range from, we got a Steve Miller, we got 3 Beatles albums, there's a few albums from Wings, there's a Paul Simon, there's a couple Billy Joel, and some other stuff. I think there's an Allman Brothers and a David Bowie might be in there too. Well, not might. I mean, I know David Bowie's in there, but a couple different things that are in there. So this could go a couple different ways. I can guarantee it's not going to be the Carpenters again, which I did like that album, but still, thank God it's not going to be the Carpenters again. It's going to be something I would find a little more cool, at the exception of the Beatles. I really hope that I do not pull Beatles album here. But as it is last time, so these are also records here that I am in the process of grading to list on OttsvilleRecordGarage.com, as well as the Ottsville Record Garage Discogs page. So we're not going to get Discogs value on this in the sense of how it works with our competition between me and Adam, but what we will get is a newly listed album listed to the website that after I grade it, I'm going to tell you how I graded it. I'm going to tell you the condition, and also, I'm going to do a record review of the album. So we'll do our normal stuff there, and we'll go from there. And so here we go. Mixing up once again the tabs here, numbered 1 to 15 in the picture of Tom. And I'm going to look away, mix them up, and I'm going to grab this one right here. All right, and we have number 2. This is number 2. So I even mixed them up in here, so I don't even know where number 2 is. So as I'm flipping through here, and looking for number 2. Where is number 2? Number 2. All right, I'm kind of glad this is what it turned out to be. This is, we're going to be doing Paul Simon, Still Crazy After All These Years. This is actually a great album here. I can tell you that already. I've had this album in stock before. I've listened to this album before. I am familiar with it. So I am pretty excited about that. There was even, I believe this is one, there was even recently a Mobile Fidelity Ultra Disc box set released of this here. Which I even think I put into my personal collection. I'm actually going to check that. I'm going to double check that. I think I did order one for myself and I got it in stock. I know I don't have any more here to sell. I don't think so. Hold on, do I? Nope, no more here to sell. I just had to look back because I know there's a couple box sets here, but those are the Carole King Tapestry Mobile Fidelity, which here I'll just show you real quick. Boom, right there. Carole King Tapestry, Mobile Fidelity, the whole box set, the Ultra Disc 1 Step. This is number 3,630 of 10,000. And it is for sale for $124.99 on OttsvilleRecordGarage.com. This is not what I'm going to be reviewing, but I mean, I figured I'd mention it. I know the Paul Simon got a very similar treatment to this one here. So if you are looking for this still, you can look it up on our Discogs page or our OttsvilleRecordGarage.com. So with that being said, I am going to step away now, and I will be back in, I said like last time, maybe it'll be a few minutes. No, it's literally seconds. So I'm going to stop this, and then I will be right back with you guys doing my full review and grading of Paul Simon's Still Crazy After All These Years. So stick around. We'll be right back at you here from the Ottsville Record Garage. And we are back in the Ottsville Record Garage. I have just finished listening to, writing down my notes and grading the random record for this week's episode, which is none other than Paul Simon's Still Crazy After All These Years. So there's a bit of a glare on that. The reason being, let me pull it off. You see it a little bit better there. Reason being is that, and I will get into that with the Discogs value, is that since this is already cleaned and graded and ready for sale and listed for sale on Ottsville Record Garage and our Discogs page, it gets the whole treatment. So, we clean the record, we grade the record. I say we, but it's really just me. But it sounds better we because it's a corporation of sorts. So I clean the record, I grade the record, as all of our used and really our brand new factory sealed records too get this part of the treatment, is that we don't clean them because they're sealed, so we don't open them. But as far as storage goes, once we get them in, and with all of our used records, is we put our little post-it tabs on here with the price and the grade for the used records. For the new ones, we'll actually just write down straight up that it's new, and then they get stored in a poly sleeve until they are ready to ship to you while they're on our shelves here, ready to go. Before I grade them, they are not in poly sleeves unless whoever I've acquired them from already had them in poly sleeves, and I will keep them in poly sleeves. But so when you buy from OttsvilleRecordGarage.com, you do get a record that has been cleaned and, in some cases listened to. And, the reason I use the Post-it notes is because they're very easy to get on and off. And it shows me a price. So that way, when I have some pop-up events, which I do hope to do soon, you're able to just pull that tab off without any damage to the cover and whatnot. So I've found that's the best way to do it so far. So that's why this one's now like a little glary as to what it is, because it is already in its poly sleeve. But here we go with the review of Paul Simon's Still Crazy After All These Years. So also I've switched, we had this last week. This is the Yard's Unterdog Oktoberfest Lager, which is pretty good. Yards Brewery is a Philadelphia-based brewery. I've done the tour at their old facility. I've not done it at their new facility, and I hope to one day. It's just honestly, it's really fucking hard for me to get down to like Philly proper anymore. It really is. But that's okay. So, factoids on this guy here. This is the fourth solo studio album for Paul Simon. It produced 4 top 40 hits in the U.S. and won 2 Grammys in 1976. Those Grammys being for Album of the Year and Best Male Pop Vocal Performance. One of the songs that did reach number 9 on the charts is called My Little Town, which features Art Garfunkel and is credited to Simon and Garfunkel. This was after Paul Simon had basically gone solo, and it's credited to Simon Garfunkel, which I think is cool. It's the first time he recorded with Art Garfunkel since 1970. So that's pretty awesome there. I guess whatever was going on there. I think there was some shit going back and forth. I'm not 100% sure on that. I really didn't look it up. So, I guess it was nice to see them get together. I know there's this like weird Grammy thing. I think it was meant as a joke, and I think it is a joke. It's pretty funny, but there was this weird Grammy presentation where like they brought Art Garfunkel up. Well, I think it was Paul Simon presenting with John Lennon, and then Art Garfunkel came up because John Lennon was talking about Paul McCartney and stuff like that, and songwriting duos. So look that up. It is actually pretty funny. It's kind of like one of those, oh, this is awkward, but it's like it's not awkward because it was actually happening. So, but that was cool that Art Garfunkel got to perform on a song on this and got like I said, credited on that song to Simon and Garfunkel. So the title track, Still Crazy After All These Years, has been covered many times over, but most notably, by Rosemary Clooney, Ray Charles, Karen Carpenter, and Willie Nelson. So the Karen Carpenter one, hearkening back to our last random record review, was apparently released as a Karen Carpenter solo album in 1996. So I would actually be very interested to look up that copy because I think I did mention on that one. I thought she had a beautiful voice. So I'm really going to look that up. And I know I definitely have heard the Willie Nelson one, which was also for a movie soundtrack. I think Space Cowboy is what it was used for there. The album did hit number 1 on the weekly U.S. Billboard pop charts and number 14 on the Billboard year-end charts for 1976. It was certified gold, selling over 500,000 units in the U.S. I believe it was also certified gold in the UK and Canada. So those are the factoids on this album. I will tell you that overall, man, I think it's a great album. It really is. It's a chill album. It has a lot of great songs on it. I mean, I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 songs on here, and they're all just kind of they're just cool, man. They're just good songs, and it's real chill. It's real laid back. This is a really good, when you want to hear like really good musicianship and recording and just like songwriting in general, but like you want to maybe do some other shit too. This is like the album to put on, man. Like this is I'd almost like put it into like the Stardust kind of category, where it's like kind of like sitting on your deck in like a summer evening or a fall evening or something, got this playing in the background, a beer or like a cocktail or something, like maybe you're smoking a doob on the porch there, and just relaxing to it. So one of the things I love about this album in general and Paul Simon's solo stuff overall is that it really is a departure from Simon and Garfunkel, right? So, sometimes you see like bands, they go and they do solo albums, right? So like Tom Petty did. It was just Tom Petty broke off from the Heartbreakers, and he did like a couple albums that were just Tom Petty. And Bruce Springsteen did just Bruce Springsteen albums that weren't Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. But in my opinion, in those two cases and in a couple other cases which I can't think of, basically it sounds exactly the fucking same. Like, why, what, you just needed more money, you know what I mean? Like whatever, like maybe with the band factor, like you have other people to consider, and if you do it solo, you don't have to consider them, whether it be financially or how you're going to do the song and whatnot. But ultimately, it's the same shit because you're still the main songwriter doing this stuff. You're just doing it without the Heartbreakers or without the E Street Band, or Alice Cooper broke off from the band Alice Cooper, and because he needed a break, and so to keep performing, he legally changed his name to Alice Cooper. I don't know if people know that, but so Alice Cooper, the man, with the first couple albums from Alice Cooper was not, he did not go by that name. So that he could basically fuck the rest of his band. In the legal sense, he turned around and legally changed his name to Alice Cooper. So they couldn't sit there and say, well, you don't owe the name Alice Cooper. Well, no, I own my name. So that, but there's no difference. There's no real difference between Alice Cooper's solo stuff and Alice Cooper's band stuff. There's no difference, but no real difference, in my opinion, with the Bruce Springsteen stuff, the Tom Petty stuff, and probably a few other things. But that is one of the good things about this. Paul Simon went off from Simon and Garfunkel, and you can tell a difference between Simon and Garfunkel stuff and Paul Simon stuff. Even the song that's on here, My Little Town with Art Garfunkel, really doesn't sound like a Simon and Garfunkel song, except it has Garfunkel's voice on it, And that's okay. And I love Garfunkel. I love Art Garfunkel's voice, but it's still the music, the way it's going. It's just a departure, and that's good. More so, when you think of Simon and Garfunkel, you think it's it's very folky. I always go back to Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme, or Bridge Over Troubled Water, stuff like that. At the Zoo, those are the things when you think of Simon and Garfunkel, that's Simon and Garfunkel, and it's great stuff. Don't get me wrong, I fucking love Simon and Garfunkel. But this is different. This solo stuff is definitely more poppy. It's more mainstream, especially even to that time. I don't think this album is necessarily dated, but it's mainstream to that time. When you would have James Taylor coming out, Al Stewart, all those those type of folky pop guys, even some Cat Stevens there. This definitely fits into that category, whereas I would think Simon and Garfunkel's stuff is a little, when you look at Bookends, that's a departure from that. So this is definitely more poppy and even jazzy, so that is good. As far as solo stuff goes for Paul Simon, this is a great album, but it is not as good as Graceland, plain and simple. I think Graceland is a generational album. I think it stands on its own. I think if Paul Simon only put out Graceland as a solo album, it's one of the best solo albums ever written. It's in my opinion one of the best albums ever written. And so so that harkens to his solo stuff, and that Graceland's completely fucking different from any Simon and Garfunkel stuff. I would consider this better than Paul Simon, although some people would rank Paul Simon a little bit better, but it's not as good. Or Paul Simon's not as good, in my opinion, as Still Crazy After All These Years. Simon and Garfunkel are amazing as a group, and if they ever toured again, I would definitely want to go see them. I was able to send my mom to see them in a reunion tour in 2003, and I believe the Everly Brothers were also on that tour. And that was honestly, we're in September 2023. They played in Philadelphia in October of 2003. So we're literally just 20 years, shy of 20 years from, I believe that was the last time they toured as a duo. And I don't know that either one of them are touring solo. I did look up just in my research, and there is kind of a I guess it's a musical play, review type of thing going on, called the Simon and Garfunkel story, which is about two kids from Queens who make music and make it big. I don't think I'd want to see that, personally. Just not that interested in that. But if Simon and Garfunkel toured, I definitely would go and see them. As I mentioned earlier, I said, I think I have the MoFi copy of this in my personal collection, and I do have the Ultra Disc Mobile Fidelity pressing of this 1-step Ultra Disc limited edition, special limited edition box set. This is number 6307 out of 8,000. So when I did get these in, I actually had a few that weren't sold. So I decided to keep one, and they have like impeccable freaking packaging with this, with the foam inside, and a little explanation of what the Ultra Disc 1-step is, and then and then you got the little sleeve there, and the vinyl. I'm not going to pull it all out because I'll just be like, oh my god, look at this. So I'm gonna try not to get too nerdy in this one, but I did like, I was like, oh, so that's the funny thing about my, when you get into like my personal collection, I'm like, wait, I think I fucking had that. Do I have that album? Wait, let me go check. So I had to go check, and I do have my own personal copy of the original master recording from Ultra Disc 1-step pressing by Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab of Paul Simon, Still Crazy After All These Years, and it is a limited edition of 8,000 units, and this is 6307. I will say that a lot of Mobile Fidelity stuff, they'll say, oh, this is a limited impression of 5,000 or 10,000 or blah, 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 whatever they do, and then it's gone, but then it comes out again. So the Ultra Disc stuff, I haven't really seen it being repressed too often. So the Ultra Disc stuff, it does look like, at least for right now, that is pretty true, that they're doing it like a one shot and then it's done and it's not coming back. But a lot of that Mobile Fidelity stuff, even like the special ones, I know each band on it means something different. Man, that shit comes back, dude. So again, it's like one of those things. It's almost like the aftermarket stuff when I say like, hey, if you see something that's sold out, or someone dies or whatever, and fucking take a breath. It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. You really need it that badly. If you do, fucking good, go for it. Overpay for it. But generally, the stuff comes back. But the Ultra Disc right now does not look like that stuff's coming back. So we'll see. I know they have a bunch of good stuff coming out from Mobile Fidelity, including like I believe Hotel California's coming out soon. I think some of the Bruce Springsteen stuff is getting the Ultra Disc treatment, as well as some Van Halen stuff. So that's actually kind of cool too. Now, unfortunately, this does not count towards my totals with Adam in our running totals of the value of our personal collections. Number one, this is not in my 25. I did not pick it from my 25 as to what we're regularly doing. But I did, for shits and giggles, look this up to see if I had it, and I would have like fucking stomped over his goddamn motherfucking Steel Train album, because the very good plus value of Discogs of this, just off the bat, is at $125. So that would have made up more than the Steel Train album that he has been kicking my ass with. But mine, if I were to sell it, which I'm not selling my personal copy of the Ultra Disc one, because I really do like this album. I don't listen to it often, but I don't listen to most of my Mobile Fidelity stuff that often. I just maybe pull it out once a year, maybe a little bit more depending on what it is. I know I've definitely played my Hall & Oates a lot more. My Rock and Soul Hall & Oates Mo-Fi, I've played that more frequently than probably the rest of my Mo-Fi, but a lot of it I just it's expensive, it's nice. I don't have the nicest turntable in the world. I have a decent turntable for my budget, but eventually I would like to upgrade my turntable to a really nice higher end or high end turntable, and then I would probably play the Mobile Fidelity stuff more often then, but I don't have that right now. But my copy would probably be near mint. I've maybe played this twice. I know I've definitely played it once. I maybe played this a second time. But I know I definitely have played it once. So mine's probably a near mint, which the value on that would be at $163 if I were to sell it. So, I got that going for me. Not really, because it doesn't count towards our totals, and this isn't in my 25. But I got shit, Adam. You watch yourself. Coming for you. Regina factor on this. We're going through this. We're getting through this episode. We're going to do this shit. Like I said, I'm going to try not to get too nerdy on you. And it's a random record, you know what I mean? And it's only me and Snoop Dogg. And as we already know, Snoop Dogg doesn't say shit. I mean, he says shit, but not really on camera. He just likes to watch. He likes to watch what I'm doing and make sure I'm doing it right and not fucking things up. Right, Snoop? Yeah, see, knew exactly what he was going to say there. At any rate, the Regina factor, well, she's sleeping, so we don't have a Regina factor on this. I literally, as we did in the last episode, we did the first part of this, and then, we cut camera, and then I listened to it and graded it, and now I'm back, and so no, there's no chance for Regina to listen to this because it is 10 o'clock on a Monday night, and she is asleep in her bed right above us. But I would say that if I were to venture to guess, I would think just based on the things that Regina has liked, this one she would either like or be indifferent to. I would lean towards her liking this album. But again, doesn't factor into the Regina factor. Because this is not a real episode. It's a fake episode, even though it is a real episode number. You guys get what I'm saying here. At any rate, my 3 favorite songs on this album. I will say that right off the bat, you hear the title track, Still Crazy After All These Years. It's the first song on the album. And right off the bat, when I put this on, I'm like, oh, that's got to be number 1. Until 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover came on. And right there, I'm like, nope. That's my number 1 on this album. And it is. 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover is my number 1 song on this album. It's my favorite album. I just love the fucking beat, the offbeats, and the rhythm with it, and just the words. And it's just a great fucking song. So that's definitely number 1. Number 2 is Still Crazy After All These Years. That's an amazing song. It's a beautiful song. So I do like that. And then number 3 for me was Some Folks Lives Roll. Some Folks Lives Roll Easy. Lives Roll Easy. Some Folks Lives Roll Easy is my number 3 there, and it's great. It's also a good song. Least favorite. It was actually pretty difficult for me to pick a least favorite because I really do love all these songs, but it would probably be Night Game as my least favorite. I am not as into that song. It's almost like it's not forgettable. It's just not as strong as the other 9 songs on here. Silent Eyes are kind of maybe leading towards a dishonorable mention, but still, again, Night Games. I love it. It's still probably. It might be my least favorite on this album, but still would be the best song on other albums that are out there, as we often said. So we are moving right along here. This is not going to be a very long episode, and I think you're okay with that. All right, so Discogs value on this guy here. So what I actually have here is a 1975 Pittman pressing with an embossed cover. So I have said most of the time, because of the area that I'm in, a lot of the used records I end up with, especially when you're going back, 50s, 60s, 70s, early 80s. They're Terre Haute or Terre Haute, however you say it, and Pittman pressing. Every now and then I get Jacksonville. It's probably the third, followed by what's the other one? Richmond or Winchester. So those are kind of like the ones, but almost everything that I get used is usually a Pittman or a Terre Haute, and a lot of them are just represses. There's not really that many original pressings, but I think this one actually is an original pressing based on the etchings. So this is a Pittman pressing, and it has the embossed cover. Embossed cover meaning, and I don't see embossed covers as much anymore. I guess it was like more of like kind of like a cool thing way back when. So if you were, you get this and you rub your fingers across the picture, it's lifted. It's a little raised. Hence the embossing. Some like things like I think there's some albums where it's like the cutouts, like Rolling Stones Some Girls, that's considered an embossed cover because it has the cutouts of the faces and whatnot. But like I said, so this guy here is the description on the album as is listed on our Discogs page, as well as currently on the OttsvilleRecordGarage.com page. It's a 1975 Pittman pressing, embossed cover. Cover has light shelf and ring wear and slight discoloration due to age, not abuse. Slight corner wear on the opening, but nothing much. Original lyric inner sleeve included and in excellent condition. Vinyl has light wear, but nothing major. There is some light noise on side 2, but nothing overwhelming. Plays great and sounds amazing. It's cleaned, ships in a poly sleeve as it's already stored. I graded the media at very good because of that light noise, so we do grade conservatively here. There is some light noise, not really pops, just some like light noise on the background there. and it's more so on side 2. So the media is at very good, and the sleeve is very good plus, because there's really nothing wrong with the sleeve. I mean, it's a 47-year-old album with just kind of like the slightest dent on the corner here. There's a couple creases. The discoloration is just it's old. It's a primarily lighter colored cover, and in 47 years it gets faded. It gets a little darker, a little bit of staining, and but overall it's a solid cover. So this is really good. And like I said, it's already listed on OttsvilleRecordGarage.com. It is listed on our Discogs page, so you can purchase it from any of those places there. And so the MSRP on Discogs for this album, this particular pressing and this album, there's a bunch of different pressings listed, but the MSRP on this particular Pittman pressing of this year is $6.88. However, there are currently 57 copies of this album starting at $1.50, and they're probably like the lower quality of the vinyl or the cover or whatever, but there's 57 copies for $1.50. So the last copy that sold, and it's funny because it just sold a couple weeks ago, not from me, but from somebody else. I was able to look that up on Discogs as to the last time it sold, and the condition, same condition, very good plus, sold for, I think it said $3. I'm putting this one, because you got to look at profit margin and, what I paid for it to get it in and whatnot. I am actually listing this, and I feel good about it. It's a very solid $3.99 album right here. So definitely, if you're looking for this, check it out on OttsvilleRecordGarage.com or our Discogs page, Ottsville Rec Garage, and you can purchase this copy, which if you watch the podcast, has been cleaned, graded, and is being stored in a poly sleeve on our shelves until it finally finds its forever home. So there you go. That is the Discogs value, and this really is going to be our fastest episode ever, and I'm okay with that. I hope you're okay with that too. This is a Adam car ride home, or car ride to work is how he would put it. So that's probably a good thing. Next week's episode will be very special. We will have Adam back here in the Ottsville Record Garage, and we will be talking about Bob Dylan Blonde on Blonde, which was the last album picked out of the box of Michael. And, so please, tune in, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Castbox. There's a whole bunch of things we're on. There's like things I don't even know. I just go through the list and I'm like, here's our RSS, and if you know what that means, good for you. I actually really don't know what it means. I think it's just a link back to our podcast for Spotify page. But at any rate, listen to us. Please follow us on whatever you listen to. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you don't mind, leave us a review. Drop a review of the of what you think of the podcast, because that will help us to reach other people who might like vinyl records or drinking beer and talking nonsense about different things in life in the country. We also what we also do is if you look on our Spotify page, we actually generally have a couple questions. There's like a Q&A and then a poll that you can take as well. So check that out as well. If you're on Spotify, you can get to it on the app on your phone if you go into the episode itself, but also from the desktop. The desktop URL or program on Spotify, you can also get to it as well. So those are all the things that I would really love for you to do here to keep the Country Hipster Podcast going and going strong, which we're going to anyway. Even if you don't, we're still going to fucking do it. So it's all good. But I think that is all we have for this. And like I said, real quick, relatively quick episode for us. And now I'm rambling, so I am going to shut my mouth and I am going to... Mama!